Wednesday, everybody, and we are set for yet another slate of MLB DFS. It's a pretty interesting one for tonight because the pitching options are kind of thin. There are a lot of question marks available, no true aces on this slate, so got to try to work things out and decide which pitcher should sit atop our list. My name is Jim Sanas. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to answer your questions about tonight's MLB DFS slate for the next 25 minutes, getting you set for Wednesday's main slate, which should be a pretty fun one. As mentioned, it's pretty wild, but we can definitely find, at least hopefully, some gems, regardless of where you look. So feeling pretty okay as things stand right now. As always, if you have questions about today's DFS slate, make sure you are getting those questions over on YouTube. You can put them in the comments section there in the live chat area. You can also go to Twitch and Facebook, and we'll answer questions from all three sources. So wherever you are watching this, you will get your question answered. Just send it to us. We'll get to as many as we can as this stream goes along. Before we take a look at today's slate and today's questions, though, do want to send a quick shout out that tomorrow, bit of a change in schedule because a special treat for all of you fantasy football fans out there. JJ Zacharyson, my boss, will be on the stream at 3 p.m. Eastern answering your fantasy football questions. And then I'll come on after that with the regularly scheduled show. I'll be in at 3:30 tomorrow. So if you want to ask questions about MLB DFS, tune in at 3:30 instead. But I'd encourage you to tune in at 3 to check out JJ. It's easier, though, just to subscribe to the FanDuel YouTube page. So make sure you do that to get those notifications right as we go live. All right. Troy is asking over on YouTube, Snell or Eflin has the highest scoring night? If you're talking about relative to all pitchers, I would take neither personally because Blake Snell's on a pitch count. He told Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times he was expecting to go about 75 pitches or 5 innings for tonight. That's not enough to be the highest scoring pitcher on his slate unless, things get really weird, which they could because MLB DFS is an unpredictable beast for sure. But Snell is not on my list despite the fact he is $8,500. Just not a long enough leash for me to go there. So not Blake Snell. As far as Zach Eflin goes, facing the Orioles, and the Orioles are not a good offense. And I can say that, pretty definitively, but they also don't strike out that much, just a 21% strikeout rate for that active roster since the start of last year. And they've also been even better than that so far this year. We can go to FanGraphs, click on team batting stats, pull up the 2020 numbers for them. And when we do all this, you're going to see that the active roster for the Orioles not striking out pretty much at all so far this year. I did still use Zach Wheeler against them last night, but that's because I had more faith in Wheeler's talent than I had in the talent of Zach Eflin. So this year against righties, the Orioles active roster has a drum roll, please. 20.3% strikeout rate against righties. So I am not into Zach Eflin. I've seen some talk about him on Twitter today. I'm not into it personally, just an 18% strikeout rate for Eflin. This is in his past 8 starts. Been throwing more sinkers and fewer four-seam fastballs. 77 pitches in his first start this year. So I'm not really on either Snell or Eflin personally. And if I had to pick one, I guess I would go Snell just because I have more faith in him getting strikeouts while he is out there, but neither on my list for tonight. Josh is asking, interested in the Minnesota stack for today. They are fairly cheap. So Minnesota is facing Eric Lauer. And when you look at this sheet, you're going to see that Eric Lauer has a 28% strikeout rate. This is over a decent sample. 9 starts with more cutters for Eric Lauer. Strikeout rate's 28%. I do not care. I think that is usually I'm just going to blindly trust my sheet. Today, not going to do that. I'm actually lower on Eric Lauer than the sheet is. So the Twins were not in my top couple of stacks for the podcast for today, but I do think that they are very much in play. Lauer allows a lot of hard contact. He lets up some walks for sure. So Josh, to answer your question, yes, I think the Twins are a pretty solid option for today. Can definitely get behind stacking them. So I guess I haven't looked that much at their salaries yet, but yeah, broadly okay with the Twins. Let's go to Twitch. Peyton has a question. Padres and Astros stack with Maeda. How do you feel about it? Yes, I actually mentioned all of those teams on the podcast this morning, so I'm on board. The Astros are facing Trevor Cahill, let up a lot of hard contact last year, got booted from the rotation as a result, so on board with them. The Padres facing Tony Gonsolin, similar scenario. A lot of hard contact allowed for Gonsolin. The xFIP for Gonsolin as a starter in the majors is 5.31. So yes, I think those are all good options for you, Peyton. Walker at pitcher with the Astros and Dodgers stacked together. So Taijuan Walker is another guy I talked about this morning because there aren't a lot of pitchers on the slate who have the ability to post a big game. We saw Taijuan Walker actually do that this year. His overall numbers are the numbers you see here, and they're not super inspiring, but it's worth noting that those games for Walker, his 3 starts have come against the Astros, the A's, and the Angels. A lot of A's in there, and those teams are 1st, 5th, and 6th in WRC plus against righties since the start of last year. The Rangers are not a good offense. They have an 87 WRC plus against righties, and they strike out a lot. So Taijuan Walker, if you want a cheaper pitcher, he would be my favorite option for tonight, and he is my 3rd favorite option straight up behind Kenta Maeda and Zach Greinke. So Peyton, I like both those. One off at second base. Okay. Second base here. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. I think it's Brandon Lau. Nate Lowe. I always confuse which one is which. When I have time to prep on the podcast, I always look at pronunciations because it's super important for me to pronounce people's names correctly. Off the top of my head, I can never remember which one is which. So someone correct me. Think it's Brandon Lau. I could be wrong, so please correct me if I am wrong because I want to say his name right. He is in play. He is $32. A question about the Rays, which I will get to from Alvin in a second. I think that Lau is in play. I think that'd probably be my main guy at second base for today. I have not seen a Phillies lineup yet. Yeah, Phil Gosselin's batting 7th. If you need a lower salaried second baseman, I would consider him there. So I think those would be the main guys who stand out. But, man, just second base in general this year has been really, really tough consistently. So second base is pretty brutal. Tony is saying, I don't like any pitchers tonight, so I may go cheapo. Taijuan Walker. Yes, again, I think that Taijuan Walker is my favorite lower salary pitcher for tonight. So, Tony, I am on board with you on Taijuan Walker. Constantine, great call on Hayward yesterday. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't use him as much as I should have. So, good call. Didn't use as much as I should have. I didn't need the salary savings, so I didn't use Hayward. So, I hope you benefited because I didn't as much as I should have. Alvin, any interest in a Tampa Bay stack or one-offs? Okay, so we have Tampa Bay here. They are facing Zach Godley. Godley, so he's been getting better since the middle part of last year. His curveball is like the pitch that got him like to relevance. For I used him a lot in DFS a couple years ago. He's been cutting back on his curveball usage. This is with lots of cutters and more changeups. Okay, so this is his past 7 outings. A lot of these were in relief, so take these with a grain of salt. But the hard contact number has been getting better. He's getting more ground balls again. So I am not super high on the Rays, but as mentioned, I am okay with some one-offs there. And I think that you could go with the Rays from a stacking perspective, and I would not exclude them. They are not near the top of my list and not a priority for me if I'm doing just a couple of lineups. But I do think that they are in play for sure. If you have a strong read on the Rays and you want to go with someone, go with like a Jimon Choi or someone like that, yeah, I think that's totally okay. Mentioned Lau/Low. Again, I'm annoyed that I don't remember which one is which. But regardless, either way, I do think the Rays are in play. Troy, I am a newer MLB DFS player. Would you say it is a better strategy to have a 3 to 4 man stack, or is it better to spread out your roster with 1-2 players per team? Thanks for the help. Okay, Troy, so great question. I'm glad that you asked this one because stacking is crucial in MLB DFS. Kenyatta Storin, who is one of our awesome writers over at numberFire, actually wrote a piece this offseason that got some data from FanDuel and showed the average score per lineup based on the stack, like the largest stack within that team. And every high scoring average came from teams that had 4-player stacks. So Troy, my mindset is always, I want as many 4-player stacks as I can possibly get. And if that means I can get 2 different 4-player stacks in the same lineup, thumbs up, man. Like, that's exactly the way you want to go. So, Troy, I think the way that I try to think about this is I want as few one-off players or players who are not tied to teammates in my lineup as possible. I want to make sure I'm building around individual teams. That way, like, let's say I decide to stack the Astros, the Twins, and the Rays today. That means I need all three of those teams to go off. If I narrow that down and just go with the Astros and the Twins, I'm dependent on two teams going off. So it's like a 2-team parlay versus a 3-team parlay. That's why I want as few one-offs as possible. Hopefully it answers your question, but I'd recommend reading Kenyatta's piece. I also had a podcast version of that that went up on the Solo Shot podcast feed. So I'd recommend reading that just to solidify it. But the too long didn't read is just stack as much as you can with the biggest stacks that you can. Constantine is asking, update on the weather in Philadelphia. Yeah, I checked this out right before we started. I've mentioned this before, I go to Kevin Roth over on Roto Grinders. He is a legitimate meteorologist. I am not. So I tend to trust his instinct on these things. And he said that it seemed like Baltimore, Philadelphia should be able to play as long as the field doesn't get too soupy before the game. So right now, Constantine, I am comfortable using players from Philadelphia. It's partly because I really want to use Phillies hitters. So right now at 4:11 p.m. Eastern, I am ready to go pretty hard at the Philadelphia Phillies batters and hoping that people are scared off by the weather there. That could change. Kevin tends to put up an updated post later on. You look at the numbers here from Dark Sky Weather as far as the rain goes. It looks like the rain percentages go down as we get deeper into the game. So Kevin was talking about maybe a delayed start and then playing later on. I'm hoping that's the case. So right now, Constantine, I am leaning towards playing the Phillies despite the risk around the weather there. Question from Tony. Brandon Lau, you had correct. Yes. Okay. I get so nervous about those Rays. Okay. So Brandon Lau, Nate Lowe. Brandon Lau, Nate Lowe. I'm just going to keep on saying it. We'll be good to go. Thank you, Tony, for that confirmation. Jason is asking, Nationals stack today. Okay. So the Nationals are facing Robert Gsellman, who is moving back into the rotation for the Mets. I think they said it's his first start since like 2017. As a starter in 2017, Gsellman a 4.92 skill interactive ERA, 15% strikeout rate, but a lot of ground balls and a lot of weak contact. Now, it's important to remember that like I'm pulling the hard hit rate from Fangraphs, and the hard hit rate in 2017 is very different than what the hard hit rate was in 2019. So maybe Gsellman is not as good at limiting hard contact as this data would indicate, but he does limit hard contact. He does get ground balls. So I think the Nationals are an okay stack. But given that I have other stacks that I like more, I like the Dodgers quite a bit. Mookie Betts is the thumbnail for this video today. I like Mookie Betts. I like the Astros against Trevor Cahill. I think the Twins are okay. I'd probably rank the Twins above the Nationals from a stacking perspective for today. I do like the Phillies. So I would say, although the Nationals are an option for me today, I would put them a bit lower on the list. So, Jason, if you have a strong inclination towards them, you can go there. But I think for my personal process, I try to keep things tight when I can. And I'm not sure I'll get to the Nationals for today. I think you could definitely go one-offs. Checking out the lineup here to see if it's posted for them yet. Yeah, so it doesn't appear there is a Nationals lineup. Oh, there is. Just kidding. Huh? Okay, so Eric Thames batting 7th is $2,300. I would say he's a pretty good one-off, and you can obviously go with guys like Soto. He's amazing. But I think that for me, it would mainly be just as one-offs rather than as a full stack. Alvin is asking, favorite hitters in a Philadelphia stack? I like everyone. I was talking this morning about how Wade LeBlanc does get more strikeouts against lefties, but it's not a prohibitive strikeout rate, doesn't get a ton of ground balls either. So Bryce Harper, $4,000 batting 3rd. Give me that. I am all on board with him for sure, despite the lefty-on-lefty matchup. Rhys Hoskins, the call of the day is that Rhys Hoskins is going yard. No homers in 52 plate appearances, so I think usually it's Aaron who will ask about my home run calls for today. I'm going to get out in front of that and say Rhys Hoskins is going yard at least once. I said Kyle Schwarber was going deep twice last night. He did not go deep, so that means he's, again, probably going to go deep today. I think they play like 6 o'clock, so not the main slate, but he's going deep twice. Rhys Hoskins is my homer call of the day, though. $2,900. He is still drawn walks and not striking out, which is bad because we don't want walks in DFS, but it means he is seeing the ball well. That's valuable. So I would say Rhys Hoskins, a great option. Andrew McCutchen, $2,400 too. Real Muto, $3,500. I think anybody in the top 5 in the Phillies lineup is going to be a massive part of my core for tonight, depending on what type of salary I need. I think Segura is a great option too. And if I need the salary savings, I can get down to Gosselin as well. And also second base sucks. So we can go there for him as well. Schwarber scratched. Oh, man, I jinxed him. Well, sorry, Cubs fans. It's my fault. Bryce is asking, Baltimore, I think he's saying, Baltimore a sneaky stack today. Actually, yeah. So, Bryce, we were just talking about how people are weirdly, not weirdly, I don't want to disparage people, but people are more into Eflin than I am. And Eflin, 41% RD rate. Let's look at his numbers here. Let's pull up the sample I had pulled from Zach Eflin in this time. I know that I could make this more efficient by making this a separate thing and linking that way, but why make things easy when we can instead make them hard? And that's what we're going to do here. All right, so going to Zach Eflin's Fangraphs page, this is 7 starts where he's been changing up his usage. Okay, sorry, 8 starts. Wow, idiot. Labeled that wrong. Okay, that's me. I'm dumb. I'm the dumb one here. 2.58 ERA. Definitely will take that. Looked okay against the Yankees last week. The swinging strike rates for him against the Yankees, 6.5%. So I don't know if that's necessarily a number we need to go at. Yeah, I think I'm a bit perplexed. The swinging strike rate overall in the sample for Eflin is 8.4%. The batted ball numbers here, big ground ball rates. I think that if we're trying to go with a contrarian Baltimore stack, that's the biggest demerit against it, is that he does get a lot of ground balls. I believe this is with extra sinker usage in this time. You can find that by going to pitch info and checking out pitch type. You can also go with the pitch type here, but I prefer the pitch info one personally. Yeah, so fewer four-seam fastballs in this time, more sinkers. It's resulting in more ground balls for Zach Eflin. So I think the thought process is really good there, Bryce, where you want to, if you think that there is someone who is going to be chalky who you don't think should be chalky, maybe you stack against them. I like that thought process a lot. I think that you could definitely go at Baltimore for today. I don't know if I'll get there personally because there aren't enough individual batters I like within that Baltimore team to get super jazzed about them on a nightly basis. But they've been fine. So I think you could go there, and I like the thought process. There's probably not someone I'm going to go with today personally. Danny is asking, favorite stack today? I think it's Philly if it is second favorite. Okay, so yes, Philadelphia is number 1 for me, Danny. Number 2 would be the Houston Astros. They're facing Trevor Cahill, and the numbers I have on my sheet here for Trevor Cahill, I'll just go to the hitter tab because why not? Cahill, this is as a starter last year before he got moved into the bullpen. 5.05 skill interactive ERA, 18% strikeout rate, and a whole lot of hard contact. I don't have the ground ball rate on this sheet, but his ground ball rate did go down last year relative to where it had been previously. So I would say the Astros are my number 2 stack for today. Their lineup is out. George Springer's back in the lineup, so that wrist injury, good enough to allow him to get back in there. A planned off day for Jose Altuve. They had said, I think this morning, that he wouldn't play today, so that one is not a surprise. But Springer's back in there. That's a good thing. We can always use Yuli Gurriel as a good value play. No Michael Brantley this time, which is disappointing, but that does mean Kyle Tucker, who is $2,800, moves up into the 6 hole. So I like this Astros lineup. I think that given the slate that we have for today, I think that it should be fairly easy to afford all the guys we want here. Let's just tinker around with a quick little stack here. I always go Gurriel first because I'm a sucker. So we'll do that. Let's go Correa because I love Carlos Correa. And I want Tucker in there. Okay, so if we put these guys in here, we should be able to get to either Springer or Bregman. Yeah, 34.60 left. So a lot of flexibility. I think that you can get to the Astros studs easily, and I like all 3 guys in the middle part of that order. So Astros stack number 2 for me today for Danny. Favorite overall batter today? I think when you consider salary, it's probably Rhys Hoskins, just because he's $2,900 and, again, guaranteed to go yard. So it's just a lock at this point. So I'll go with Rhys Hoskins once you consider salary. If we're not considering salary, let's just go here. Let's cheat a little bit. Those guys are all boring. Probably Cody Bellinger. I don't think he's had a great start to the year. But I like the Dodgers as a stack. They're facing Zach Davies, and Davies is not a dude people probably, I don't know, they don't stack against him that much, but they probably shouldn't either because like he's had good results for a very long time. And at some point, you got to trust the results over the peripherals. But not a lot of strikeouts, doesn't get as many ground balls as he used to. So I think that the Dodgers are a pretty good option. Cody Bellinger, good numbers since the start of last year. Let's pull up his numbers this year to see what's been going on there. Bellinger, load times. I have like 15 tabs open. This is on me. This is not on Fangraphs. This is totally on me for having like 37 tabs. Yeah, so a rough start to the year for Bellinger, but not striking out that much, not making the best of contact, but it's also not the worst of contact. It's either ground balls. Ground ball rate's a little high, so Bellinger not totally on, but hey, we'll just bet on a bounce back here for Cody Bellinger for tonight. You could just go Mookie Betts and make it easy on yourself, but why make things easy when we can instead make them hard? All right, we haven't talked a lot about pitching for tonight, so I do want to go through a couple of guys here. I think that outside of Taijuan Walker, who we did discuss earlier, I like Kenta Maeda a lot. Look at his game logs, and you'll see the pitch counts are decently low for Kenta Maeda. He's not going over 84 pitches yet so far this year. But in this game against the White Sox, they were up like 10-2 in the fifth inning in that one. So he dove there. They've been ahead in all three starts that Maeda's made, and he's eventually left. But really good numbers for Maeda, not just this year, but like his entire career. He's had awesome numbers when he's been allowed to pitch and hasn't been jockeyed around for contract reasons. 2.65 ERA this year, 3.43 skill interactive ERA, which is far more important than his ERA. 26% strikeout rate, a lot of whiffs. So I think Kenta Maeda against a Brewers team that just adores that third strike right now. I think that Kenta Maeda is my number one pitcher. Not a big Zach Greinke guy in general, but Greinke is in a pretty good spot today at home. Facing Houston, facing the Giants, I went out of my way on a podcast, I think it was Monday, to say I'm not going to use Lance McCullers, and then Lance McCullers almost had a no-hitter against the Giants. So I think we can go add Zach Greinke here. It's not a high strikeout guy, but keep in mind that Oakland game and that Los Angeles game were against low strikeout teams, whereas facing the Giants, they are a pretty high strikeout team. They have a lot of platoon stuff in there, so Greinke will be facing a lot of lefties, but still a 24% strikeout rate for this Giants active roster since the start of last year. So Greinke, not usually a guy I like, but on this slate where we don't have a lot of strikeouts available, and some of the strikeouts that are available are, Blake Snell and Masahiro Tanaka, both guys who I would not expect to go deep into the game. So I think I'm going to go Zach Greinke. He's not my favorite. I prefer Kenta Maeda because he's cheaper, but he's number two for me. William has a question. Do you like a Yankees stack tonight? The Yankees are facing, it's basically a bullpen game for the Braves. Inoue will start. He went like 2 2/3 in his first start in a bullpen game. Inoue's not bad. He does walk a lot of guys. So I think the Yankees are fine. They're not like my favorite stack, just because I think that the Braves bullpen, the Braves rotation is a disaster. But I think in this specific context, where they're going with the bullpen game, should have some more fresh arms out there. That lowers me a bit. Another question from Troy about Judge being a must-have. Is it worth fading him to be able to go up from Eflin to Maeda? Yeah, I think so. I think, Troy, the way I look at it is that I never consider a hitter a must-have because, like, Mike Trout can go 0 for 4. The odds that Mike Trout goes 0 for 4 are much higher than the odds that a pitcher fails. And if the difference between Judge and, like, Rhys Hoskins, if this is a utility slot or something like that, gets you up to Kenta Maeda, give me Maeda every time. The gap between those, whoopsies, scary to have Zach Greinke staring at me as I open this tab back up. Difference here is $1,400. So, yeah, I think I would definitely do whatever I have to get. And I think that, in general, I would make sure – oh, no Judge today. Okay, thank you. So there you go. The answer makes it a lot easier for you, Troy. No Judge today, so that makes things easy. Donna is asking, are these plays mostly cash or can it be used in GPP? Great question, Donna. I should be clarifying that, so I appreciate you asking. I think Kenta Maeda is my cash game pitcher for tonight because I love the safety and his strikeout rate. I love his effectiveness so far. He's on the road, which is certainly concerning, but I think that the overall profile of Maeda is very attractive. So I would say him for cash games, and I'll try to clarify that going forward. So thank you for asking. Other stuff I would mention from a cash game perspective, I think the Astros are really solid. Cahill doesn't get a lot of strikeouts in a cash game. I want to minimize strikeouts because I want additional balls in play, additional trips to the plate. So minimizing strikeouts does lead me towards the Astros. The Dodgers are more of a GPP stack than a cash game stack just because Davies has had such good results. So I'd cross them off. The one difference we might have here is that the Phillies, maybe you want to be lower on them in cash games. So I think that that's a consideration to make, but I think that the Astros are my number one stack for cash games for today. I would consider the Phillies if you feel confident enough about that weather being okay. I think the Nationals could potentially be an option there. Maybe you get some Twins, but the Astros, from a cash game perspective, Donna, definitely the team I'd be turning to there. Final question here from Tony. Trey Turner batting first or Didi Gregorius batting sixth with a similar salary? Who do you like? I would go Trey Turner there. Gregorius is facing a lefty. That's not we don't need to cross off all lefties. I'm fine with Bryce Harper, but I think that with Turner batting first, and facing off with Gazelman, I would go Turner there for sure. That is all the time that we have for today. Awesome questions once again. I appreciate the wide range of the questions that all of you asked, whether it be specific questions about cash game versus tournament or the broad questions too about stacking and stuff like that. All those are fun to discuss. So thank you all for tuning in. As a reminder, special schedule for tomorrow. The stream will be starting at 3 o'clock with JJ Zacharias and answering your fantasy football questions. So make sure you tune in at 3 p.m. And subscribe to the FanDuel YouTube page. I'll hop on after JJ. So the MLB DFS live stream will be earlier in the day tomorrow. That'll be at 3:30. Make sure you subscribe to FanDuel, the FanDuel YouTube page for that, and follow us on Twitch and Facebook as well. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer from the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck with your lineups for tonight. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.